Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here, and welcome back to a new video on the channel. And today, guys, I'm going to be continuing with my AFL 2024 round reviews and round previews in today's video, reviewing round 19 and previewing round 20 of the 2024 AFL season. Starting off with a previous round review, round 19. Last round Friday night footy was at Marvel Stadium. It saw Adelaide defeat Essendon by 2 points in a high-scoring thriller. First game on the Saturday at NG Stadium saw GWS defeat Gold Coast by 39 points and secured a defeat West Coast by 72 points at Marvel. In the twilight was Hawthorn defeating the reigning premiers Collingwood by 66 points. Port Adelaide defeating the Tigers by 41 points Saturday night at the Adelaide Oval, and also the Western Bulldogs defeating Geelong by 47 points Saturday night at GMHBA Stadium. First game on the Sunday saw Brisbane defeat Sydney by 2 points in another great game. Fremantle defeat Melbourne by 50 points at Optus Stadium, and Carlton defeat North Melbourne by 19 points at Marvel to finish off the round. Here is the ladder after the round at the moment. Things are definitely very interesting. Sydney and Carlton still hold on to their top two spots, but there's been plenty of movement around the rest of the ladder. And now to the Coleman medal. The top three are Charlie Kerner with 53 goals, Jesse Hogan with 49, and Ben King with 45. Now time for the round 20 preview. Friday night footy starts at Marvel Stadium. Massive game of footy this one. Carlton taking on Port Adelaide at Marvel. Big Friday night blockbuster this one is. 2nd versus 7th. Really important game for both these two sides. Carlton, they only just got the job done against North Melbourne last week, and it's 5-day break as well for them, playing on the Sunday and now having to front back up again for Friday night footy against Port Adelaide, Port Adelaide only just got over Richmond as well last round. Richmond did hang in the game for most of it. Port Adelaide kicked away in the last quarter and could have easily won by more if they had kicked a bit straighter, but in the end got the 41-point win, and the Blues a 19-point win over North Melbourne. It wasn't the prettiest win by any means, but it was just doing what they had to do, getting the win, and at the moment that's all that counts. Of course, percentage when you can is important, but for a team that's got decent percentage, it's not that big of a deal. So this one is a massive game of footy, of course. Carlton are looking to try and cement the top two, and Port Adelaide do have a very tricky run home, and this is going to be one of the games which, if they're looking to make finals, they're probably going to want to win. I think Carlton will be a little bit too strong. I think it'll be a good game of footy, but I think they'll win this game by 19 points. First game on the Saturday is going to be North Melbourne taking on Geelong at Blundstone Arena. This is another big game. Geelong, they're in 6th at the moment, and of course, to be a top 8 side, you've got to keep on winning, and this is a game they simply have to be winning. North Melbourne, their performances as of late, excluding the Sydney one, have been pretty good. They've been winning some good games, and they've been playing pretty well. So I do think that they're definitely a chance to be contending North Melbourne and play some good footy in this one. And while Geelong, they're not, they haven't been playing horribly, but last week was definitely not their best game, and I do think they'd played some pretty good footy before that. But yeah, last week definitely not their best performance against the Western Bulldogs. The conditions were challenging though. But yeah, of course, there's a lot on the line for Geelong, as this is a game they've simply got to be winning. I think they will. I don't think they're going to be doing it in any convincing manner. I think it'll be a relatively good game, but I think the Cats will end up winning this game by 30 points. Now in the twilight, People First Stadium, it's going to be the Q Clash, Gold Coast taking on Brisbane. This game is a massive, massive game of footy. This one is so important. Gold Coast, they are yet to win on the road still. And Brisbane, well, they've been playing some good footy as of late, the Brisbane Lions. They've been playing really, really, really good footy. And, of course, this is a game which they're going to be wanting to win. And same for the Gold Coast Suns. The Q Clash is always a competitive one. And Brisbane did win this fixture earlier on in the year. So this is a massive game, of course. Brisbane, they're third, and they want to keep on putting the wins to try and finish top two. And Gold Coast, they're trying to still stay in the finals hunt and would still see themselves, obviously, a chance for finals in 2024. This is probably an elimination final for the Gold Coast Suns. If they lost this, it'd be hard considering their away from home record. It's probably hard to make it from here, especially if they lose this game. But if they win, there's still every chance they could potentially pull off a miracle, get a few wins away from home and make the finals. I do think Brisbane will be a little bit too strong. They played really well last week against Sydney. They're going to be missing a few players, but I still think they'll be able to get the job done by 8 points in a thriller of a game. Now, also in the twilight, the AFL going for two twilight games this round. It's going to be St Kilda taking on Essendon at Marvel Stadium. This one is another massive game. Ladder position-wise might not be the most important, especially for St Kilda, but for Essendon, this is a massive game of footy. Essendon, a bit like 2023, have been falling off at the moment. This is a game they cannot afford to drop. It is such an important game for their year, and I mean, they've got to be beating sides below them because they haven't really been able to do it against sides above them, and they still do have a tricky run home, still playing numerous sides that sit above them on the ladder. This is a game they're definitely going to want to win if they want to make the finals. Now, St Kilda, they've been playing some decent footy. They did play really well last week against the Eagles, destroying them in the end. And, well, Essendon, it was just a disappointing late fade out against the Crows. They had it in the, well, not quite in the bag, but they had it, had chances, but just couldn't quite convert them in the end. And saw Adelaide get the win, of course, and Essendon get another loss. And they still technically haven't beaten a top 8 side this year, so they're going to be looking to try and do that in the back end of the year. But they've simply got to win this game against St Kilda. I think it'll be a really competitive and really good game. Of course, the game these two sides played early in the year was pretty good. I think Essendon will get the win by 11 points and get a much needed win, but I think St Kilda are every chance in this game. Saturday night footy is going to be the MCG. It's going to be Melbourne taking on the GWS Giants. This one is another massive game. Melbourne, if they're to still think they're in the finals hunt, they've got to get the win here. It's going to be pretty hard against a good Giants side, but they're going to have to get the win if they want to think they're still in the finals hunt, because last week against Fremantle was a very disappointing performance for Melbourne. They just got beaten pretty comfortably. It could have been more than what it was in the end, and yes, away trips, especially ones to Optus Stadium, are challenging, but they did get destroyed for the second time this year against Fremantle, and they wouldn't have been overly happy with that. And well, the Giants, they did what they had to do against Gold Coast. The scoreboard probably doesn't represent the actual result of the game. It was definitely a bit closer than that, especially in some of the key areas, but they did kick very accurately, and in the end that can be the difference in games of footy. I think this will be a pretty good game of footy. Melbourne are definitely going to want to compete and still think they're a finals contender, but I think the Giants are going to be too strong, winning this game by 19 points in a pretty solid game of footy. Also, Saturday night is going to be the Western Derby at Optus Stadium. Fremantle taking on West Coast. West Coast did win this fixture earlier on in the year, and of course they're going to be out to try and get a few upsets in the back end of the year. Fremantle played very well against Melbourne last week. They played very well, pretty much destroyed them. And I mean, they have been a side which they've been able to beat, of course, this year and over previous years as well. And well, West Coast, they did get destroyed by St Kilda at Marvel. Wasn't their best performance. They did have a few key outs, which they'll be hoping will be back for this clash. I do think that it could be competitive. I still feel like that West Coast, when they played a few weeks ago against Brisbane, were pretty good. Back at Optus Stadium, of course, could be a different performance than what it was last week. I think the game isn't going to be an absolute blowout, but I do think Fremantle, they're playing really well at the moment. I think they'll be too strong, win this game by 51 points in a pretty solid win for their year. They want to try and stay top 4, and I think they should be able to get this win. First game on the Sunday is going to be Collingwood taking on Richmond at the MCG. This one, 13th versus 18th. Pretty much an elimination final for Collingwood. It was pretty much an elimination final last week, but they lose this, and yeah, they're definitely done. And while the Tigers, they're the 18th place team at the moment. They did play really well against Port Adelaide last week. For 3 quarters, couldn't quite carry it out for the full game, but they did play pretty well. And Collingwood, well, they just got absolutely destroyed by Hawthorn, and it could have been more than what it was in the end. 66 points, it was a fair bit, but it could have been more than that. And I mean, same for the Tigers. They could have lost by more as well. So, of course, both these two sides are going to be looking to respond. Collingwood simply got to win if they want to think any chance of remaining a chance for this year's finals, let alone winning a premiership. They have to win this game, and they're probably going to have to win it by a fair bit. Their percentage isn't great and took a big hit last week. I think they're going to get the win. I think it'll be a good game of footy. I think they'll get the win by 26 points. I think it's going to be a pretty competitive game, because the Tigers, they have definitely shown signs they've been competitive. So I think it'll be a good game, but I do think Collingwood will just be too strong in the end, winning the game by 26 points. Sunday, Channel 7 game is going to be the SCG. It's going to be the Sydney Swans taking on the Western Bulldogs. This is a massive game of footy, this one. It is going to be a huge result, especially for the Western Bulldogs, if they could get the win. Sydney, they're playing really well, and they played really well last week as well. Just couldn't quite get over the line against the Lions, and sometimes they do just give up a little bit too much at the start, and in the end that did prove the difference in the end, that they just gave up a few too many goals at the start. As shown in their first quarters, they're not the best side in the competition, and just couldn't quite get the win in the end, but they still did play pretty well. And the Western Bulldogs, well, they played really well against Geelong. In Geelong, it is tough. The conditions were hard, but they played really, really well. This is a massive game of footy, as I said before. Sydney, of course, looking to try and stay first on the ladder, and the Western Bulldogs trying to get into the top 8. I think the Western Bulldogs could win this game. I think it's a really 50-50 game. I think the Western Bulldogs, if they can bring the right pressure and play the best game, if they can play their best game of footy, it can really match any side in the competition, I believe, on their day. I think they're going to have their day this round. I think they're going to get the win by 3 points. I think the Western Bulldogs are going to cause a massive upset. It's not impossible to upset Sydney, as we've found out over the past few weeks. Teams have done it. I think the Western Bulldogs will be able to do it, and do it in a cracking game of footy by just 3 points. And the last game of the round at the Adelaide Oval is going to be Adelaide taking on Hawthorn. Big finish to the round. This one is Adelaide, of course, got the 2-point win over Essendon last round after coming from behind. And Hawthorn, they just dominated Collingwood in all areas. Absolutely dominated them. It was a demolition of the Pies, to be completely honest. They played really well in the end. And this is a big finish to the round. Hawthorn, if they want to make the top 8, they're going to have to win this game. It's pretty simple now. And, well, Adelaide, you'd think they're out of the finals race. They are apparently still a mathematical chance, but I highly doubt they'll be making the finals this year. Really just for the lower ranked sides. It's about preparing for 2025 and still trying to play spoiler for a few sides that have finals on the line for them. I do think Hawthorn, look, they've been playing really well recently. I think they're one of the most informed sides in the competition are the Hawks. I think this will be a great game of footy. I think it'll be really competitive back and forth. But I think Hawthorn will get over the line in the thriller by 6 points and really prove that they are a good chance for finals in 2024. So we'll go back over my tips for round 20. So my tips are Carlton, Geelong, Brisbane, Essendon, GWS, Fremantle, Collingwood, the Western Bulldogs, and Hawthorn. Those are my tips for what looks to be a great round 20 of the 2024 AFL season. And this is my predicted ladder after round 20. I still have Sydney being on top. I have Carlton in second. I have Fremantle jumping into third and Brisbane in fourth. And then, of course, from there on, it's pretty much a logjam. But I do have Hawthorn getting that bit close to the West Bulldogs in the 8, Essendon solidifying their spot in the top 8 as well. But make sure to pause if you want to see the full thing. So round 20 looks to be a great round of footy. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Please do make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Send you guys never another video on the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Bye everyone. Flame Footy out.